Three's a quorum. We have that. Are we waiting for like the planners, like Tony and Bill, or?
Well, now it's 3:30. I was waiting to see them show up too, yes, but I also expect Chair Rangel Morales to be here.
Okay, no problem. We can wait.
We'll give him a couple minutes to show up, and then we can start. Okay. If you're ready, Sonia, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. The September 9th, 2021 meeting of the Zoning Committee of the St. Paul Planning Commission will now come to order. For the record, the chair of the Planning Commission has previously determined that it is not practical or prudent for the Planning Commission and its committees to meet in person pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section 13D.02. Considering the COVID-19 health pandemic, it is not feasible for any member of the zoning committee to be present at a regular location. Committee members attending this meeting are doing so by telephone or other electronic means. It is also not feasible for members of the public to attend the meeting at its regular location due to the health pandemic and emergency. Arrangements have been made so that applicants and members of the public may also attend this meeting by telephone or other electronic means. Accordingly, no meeting is being held in City Hall Council Chambers at 15 West Kellogg Boulevard at this time. Again, this public hearing is being conducted remotely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is also being recorded. Even though this hearing is being conducted remotely, the committee's public hearing rules and procedures still apply as if the committee were meeting in its usual place. These rules and procedures are as follows. The zoning committee's recommendations and findings must have a rational basis based upon the St. Paul zoning code and applicable state and federal laws. The zoning committee's actions today are recommendations. They are not final decisions. The committee's recommendations are forwarded to the Planning Commission for final action. The committee's recommendations will be considered by the full Planning Commission at its regular meeting held 1 week from Friday. The Planning Commission's meeting is open to the public, but it is not a public hearing. The decisions of the Planning Commission on conditional use permits, non-conforming use permits, site plans, variances, and other zoning permits are final decisions unless appealed to the City Council. The decisions of the Planning Commission on rezoning applications are only recommendations. By state law, the City Council, following a public hearing before it makes the final decision on rezoning applications. The following rules and procedures govern today's public hearing of the Zoning Committee. The chair will call the secretary to take attendance by the committee. Committee members will need to respond verbally for the record. Committee members, during the meeting, please mute your microphone, except when recognized by the chair to speak. Discussion is intended for committee members and staff only, except during public hearing items when the chair invites individuals to speak. Staff will be monitoring microphones and muting committee members and members of the public as needed. Use the Skype or Teams chat function only to indicate that you have a question or comment. The chat function is part of the official meeting recording. Type Q or question into the chat feature when you have a question and or C or comment if you have a comment. The chair and staff will monitor the chat function so that the chair may recognize committee members and staff in an orderly way. After being recognized by the chair, committee members should state their name before speaking. This helps others in the meeting and assists with the official recording. When chair calls the committee to vote on agenda items, the secretary will be called to do a roll call. Committee members must respond verbally for the record and vote either yes or no. Cases will be called in the order they appear on the agenda. The chair reserves the right to limit the length of testimony if deemed necessary. I'll ask the recording secretary to now conduct a roll call of the committee members that are present for this meeting. Each committee member should acknowledge their presence by saying here. Sonia, please start the roll call.
Commissioner Grill.
Here.
Commissioner Riley, of course. Oh, yeah.
Here.
Sorry. Commissioner Said,
Here.
Commissioner Taggia,
Here.
that's all we have. Commissioner DeJoy and Commissioner Hood are excused today.
Thank you, Sonia. If you are a member of the public that would like to speak during a specific item's public hearing, you will be asked to identify yourself at the appropriate time. The public shall not utilize the chat for communicating public testimony as it is not considered part of the public record. After I read the item number and title, staff will give an oral report on the item, and then I will open up the floor for committee members to ask questions of staff. After that, I will open the public hearing on the item. All testimony and questions will be addressed to the chair. You may speak in favor or in opposition, and you will be limited to no more than 2 minutes. People who exceed the time limit may have their microphones muted by staff. I will first ask for testimony from those in favor and then from those in opposition. You must provide your name and address for the public record. Please mute yourself during this meeting except during your 2 minutes when you are specifically called upon to speak. You are allowed to speak only once, with the exception of the applicant, who will be allowed an opportunity to respond to the testimony and answer committee questions. I will now proceed to the first case. So the first case is 576 North Lexington Parkway rezoning, and I think we have Mr. Johnson to present.
Good afternoon, commissioners. So the application that you have before you today is a rezoning from RT1 to RM2 at 576 Lexington Avenue. The site is located at the corner of Lexington Parkway, which is a minor arterial / parkway, and Edmonton Avenue. The site is served by the 83 local bus route, which runs north-south and is less than a quarter mile from the Green Line LRT, which runs east-west. The subject property is a single-family dwelling. To the north, there's a duplex and another multifamily building on the corner. To the east, there's multifamily and duplexes. To the south, there's multifamily residential, and to the west, there's single-family residential. The subject property is zoned RT1 to two-family residential district, and there's RT1 zoning to the north, east, and south, and then R4 single-family zoning to the west. So this property was originally constructed in 1888 as a single-family dwelling with an accessory barn. In 1922, when the first zoning code was enacted, the subject property, along with other properties fronting Lexington Parkway, were zoned C residential. And this 1922 C residential district permitted a range of housing types, including multifamily residential, which is similar to the RM2 district that the applicant is applying for. And so from the 1920s to the 1940s, the apartments that are adjacent to the subject parcel were developed under this 1922 C residential zoning. In 1975, when the modern zoning code was adopted, the subject property, along with the apartments in close proximities, were zoned RT1 two-family residential, making them legally non-conforming. So in order for staff to recommend approval and the committee to recommend approval, there are a number of required findings which need to be met. The first finding is that the proposed zoning is consistent with the way this area has developed. The area adjacent to the subject parcel is developed with a mix of 1, 2, and multifamily residential uses, which are permitted uses in the proposed RM2 multifamily zoning district. This historic pattern of development of the parcels that were zoned C residential is consistent with the uses permitted in the RM2 zoning district. The second finding is that the proposed zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. This subject property is located within a neighborhood node, which calls for 50 to 200 dwelling units per acre. And this proposal is specifically consistent with policy LU1 of the comprehensive plan, which calls for encouraging transit supportive density and directing the majority of growth to areas with the highest existing or planned transit capacity. This finding, or the proposed zoning, is also compatible with the surrounding 1, 2, and multifamily residential land uses. The proposed RM2 zoning district would enable a multifamily use to be established on the subject parcel that is compatible with these legally non-conforming multifamily residential land uses and the historic C residential zoning classification on Lexington Avenue or Lexington Parkway. Rezoning this parcel to RM2 would not constitute spot zoning and would not establish a use classification inconsistent with the surrounding land uses. So again, from the 1920s to 1940s, multifamily apartments were constructed under the 1922 C residential district standards, which established multifamily uses adjacent to the subject parcel and along Lexington Avenue. RM2 is consistent with these established multifamily uses, and therefore this would not constitute spot zoning. So based on the required findings, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning from RT1, 2-family residential, to RM2, multifamily residential. And with that, I'd be happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Are there any questions from the committee members? All right, seeing none, is the applicant here?
Do not see her.
Yeah, I don't see that either. Okay. Is there, in that case, is there anyone to speak in favor of this application? Anyone to speak in favor of this application? 576 North Lexington Parkway rezoning. And anyone in favor? Last chance. Okay. Is there anybody opposed to this rezoning application who would like to speak on this matter? Anyone opposed to the rezoning of 576 North Lexington Parkway from RT1 to RM2? And last time, anyone opposed to this application? All right. We can close, have a motion to close the public hearing then, please.
This is Commissioner.
Chair, this is Commissioner Grill. Do we need a motion to close the hearing?
I don't know that we do. I forget. So no. Okay. Does anybody have any we can close the public hearing, and is there anything, anyone have any questions or discussion at this time? I don't. It's pretty straightforward. All right. Well, if there's no discussion, I'll take a motion on this item, please.
This is Commissioner Sayed. I have a motion to approve recommendation by staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Said. And we need a second.
This is Commissioner Grill, second.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Grill. Sonia, can we have a roll call, please?
Oops, sorry. Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Tagia,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Chair Riley,
Yes.
4-0.
Excellent. Thank you, Sonia. Okay, and so now we have the second item on our agenda, which is conditional use permit for an agricultural purpose at 364 Minnehaha Avenue, and Mr. Dermody has a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Here to discuss 364 Minnehaha Avenue East, conditional use permit for agriculture. I'll stay right at the top. It doesn't really have an address, but this address tells you about where it is. It's actually 0 East Minnehaha in most sources. So this, a little bit about this particular site. It is zoned RT1, 2-family district. It is on a hillside that it's not really evident from the photos, and I did not go out to the site to take photographs from there, so you have to take my word for it. But it's on a hillside. Rivoli Bluff is immediately east of it. The single-family homes, and then there was a cluster development at the south end of Rivoli Street that some of you may recall coming through this committee at one point in time. And Rivoli Bluff is designed in a way where it works with the elevation change and has walkout basements and that sort of thing, which tells you the kind of grade we're dealing with as the hill goes down to the railroad tracks located west of here. Both of these images are in your packet, but not side by side. I thought it might be useful to have them side by side. You can see from the aerial photograph that there is something going on here already. There's a hoop house on the site, which is where my arrow is, and the aerial photo there. And on the site plan over here, that kind of helps orient you. The thing about the agriculture that's here today is that it's less than an acre in size. And once you go over an acre, that triggers the need for a conditional use permit. And that's why we have this application. The application is from Urban Roots, Minnesota, and representative from that organization is here to speak today. It is zoned, it is owned by the City of St. Paul HRA. And there will be an agreement for the use that is processed after this CUP, should it be approved. So substantial expansion of where it's going to be located, but still generally accessed via a gravel road where Arkwright and Minnehaha meet. Just follow the gravel road down the hill, basically, to the area where all of this will occur. There will be a hilltop garden area. There will be an orchard, a couple of community gardens, hoop house, a smaller garden. Some of this here today, much of it will be new if this were to be approved. There are a number of findings that must be met for this type of use to be allowed. Some of those findings are very standard, such as meeting property maintenance standards in the code, noise regulations already in city code, and nuisance regulations already in the code. But besides those, there's also a need to prove that there's not pollution on the site, so a soil test is needed at the time of site plan review. There is a requirement that any tools be stored indoors in a shed or something like that, and they are building sheds for exactly that purpose on this site, so that finding should be able to be met. And finally, if the use ever were to be discontinued, the property would have to be restored in some way so that it didn't become a nuisance. All of the standard findings for conditional use permits are met as noted in the staff report. So the staff recommendation is for approval on this with 3 conditions. One of them is part boilerplate, that final plans be submitted to the zoning administrator, but also that those plans be accompanied by a soil lead test that meets the required finding in the code. Condition number 2 and 3 just repeat what is required in the findings about tools, equipment, and other material being stored in an enclosed structure, and that if the agriculture use is discontinued, that it be restored with grass or planted cover so as to control erosion, dust, and mud, and any accessory structures be removed. We have received 1 letter in support of the application from the Payne-Phelan Community Council. Technically, the letter, as you'll see, refers to their application for funding, but clearly the district council supports the use in general. With that, I'd be glad to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Dermody. Are there any questions for staff? I have one, Bill. Or Mr. Dermody, sorry. Is there a way to potentially have a conversation about the post sort of garden use being something other than grass? I just want to throw that out there. Grass isn't exactly the best. That's not necessarily the best option. I don't want to get them stuck with grass in a recommended motion.
Well, Chair, this is in the code right now, but grass is not the only option. Grass or other planted cover to control erosion. So it could be something else. I'm afraid that with that in the code the way it is, it's difficult to have a different condition unless there's a specific reason that this site shouldn't have grass compared to other sites. Then you could maybe specify that some other planted cover be used.
Got it. Okay, appreciate that. That's it for me. Anyone else have any questions? No. All right. Is there anyone, is the applicant here? You said she is, yes.
Hi, yes, I am here. My name's Haley Ball. I'm the Executive Director of Urban Roots.
Hi, Haley. Hi, Ms. Ball. Thanks for being here. Is there anything you'd like to add or anything you'd like to add to the presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate all the commissioner and staff's time and reviewing our proposal. I would like to add that the use of the space for agriculture is for our youth job training program. We train 75 youth in job training programming, and urban agriculture is one of our programs for that, as well as conservation, and both work extensively on the site. So that is what the use itself is for.
Great, thank you very much. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Ball? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in support of this application? Anyone here to speak in support? Last time. Anyone here to speak in support of the application? All right, seeing no other people, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? And one more time, anybody here to speak in opposition to the application? And the last time, third time, anyone here in opposition to this application? All right, seeing none, would the committee like to discuss or make a motion?
This Commissioner Said, I would like to make a motion.
A motion would be great. Yes, thank you.
I would like to make a motion to approve staff recommendation on 364 Minaha Avenue.
Thank you, Commissioner Said. Is there a second to the motion?
This is Commissioner Grill. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Grill. Sonia, can you call the vote, please? And I think that Commissioner Rangel Morales has joined us as well.
Okay, Commissioner Tagia,
Yes.
Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Rangel Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Chair Chair Riley,
Yes.
sorry. Unanimous 5-0.
Great. Thank you, Sonia. And then I'm going to go back to the beginning of agenda because I forgot the important step of the approval of the August 26th zoning committee minutes. And I have a motion to approve those.
This is Commissioner Grill. I'll move the August 26th minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Grill. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Said. I'll second.
Excellent. And we need a roll call vote of that, I suppose, as well. So Sonia, will you call the roll on the minutes, please?
Okay. Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Rangel Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Taggia,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Chair Riley.
I don't think I was at that meeting, but yes, I guess. And now I think we've done all of our items for the agenda. There were no site plan review information provided to us. And our next meeting is on, I believe, September 23rd. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. So we'll see everybody on September 23rd, unless there's anything else anybody wants to talk about. All right.
Efficient meeting chair. Well done.
that was fun. You did great presentations and very simple. Appreciate it. You all have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Thanks, all.